There we go. Okay. Always something to fix. Anyway, guys, welcome to the live stream. This is our next part 3 in the series of putting the floor in. And today took a couple of fun turns because we're just going to be going over products that I'm using. I didn't get to where I wanted to get for the live stream tonight, but I'm making sure I do one every day. Just keep you guys updated on what's happening. Let me just triple check the audio here really quick. Yep, okay, we're good. And so I'm going to use my phone here. We're going to take some notes once I go through everything. So first up, I'm showing you guys on a live stream all the stuff that I'm doing to put the flooring system in. We're getting into electrical. It's essentially the van build on a live stream all the time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm recording that on the computer, and then I'll take that, chop it up, make it into a tutorial video later. Because I'm really busy right now, and I just need to work on this, and then I'll get to producing the other stuff that you guys like to enjoy watching. As with any live stream, if you guys have any questions, put those in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them as they come in. So yeah, we're not going to be really working right now. We're just going to be going over products. And speaking of products, let's check out the DIY van build cheat sheet. So if you guys have been looking, watching the live stream or the channel, I've put together a cheat sheet. It's called the DIY van build cheat sheet. What's really awesome about it is it's essentially the last 3 years of all my Amazon purchases. So any of the products that you guys see in the videos, like from the cabling for the power, any of the other components, Renogy products, all the way down to the tools, all those are located in an Excel sheet that is very highly organized. So everything from cargo, electrical, fasteners. The fasteners is stuff that I use like for the 80/20, and then for HVAC components, like the max fan that's on top of the roof. We have insulation, onboard air. So we did ARB air compressors for Thomas's van. We've got roofing security, solar, a bunch of solar products. We've got all the brackets, stuff like that. And then last but not least, we have the tools. The tools section I think is most important for a DIYer because it's going to help you guys you can see instantly what you may need for a van build. So especially if you guys are doing anything with rivets or riv nuts, a lot of these tools are going to help you out. There's hydraulic rib nut guns, like this Astro pneumatic tool. This thing helped me put in the whole entire adventure wagon kit because manually doing it is extremely hard. So that thing is really awesome. It's on the list, but really all this stuff is it's completely free. It's here to help you guys out. All you have to do is put your name, email address in here, click download. It's going to send it right to your inbox, and you can click on the link in the description below to get it, or you can go to vanbuilderhq.com. We're going to go there really quick. Don't really mention the site too much, but vanbuilderhq.com. This is where we're working on articles to help you guys out. Blog post essentially, where we go through and do deep dives into certain things. One we have is how to design and install a camper van solar system. So this goes through a process of selecting the panels and stuff like that. And it's essentially a live stream that we did. There's a couple subscribers that were in there. We were asking questions, and you can just watch it and learn a whole lot of stuff. But then what I do is I break out into photos and just a little bit more organized approach, going through each of the components like the solar panels, components such as the panels like I just mentioned. This is the array on top of Thomas's van. So you can see we can get really complex if you need a lot of solar, or you don't have to go so crazy. But if you're wondering what products are shown in this photo, you just scroll down and we have our products like the 175 watt Renogy panel we used, And then when we upgraded his system on the roof, we used 4 50-watt panels. So the links are right there. There's a difference between fixed and portable panels. We go through solar charge controllers. So if you've never installed solar before, maybe you don't know the difference between a PWM or an MPPT. So there's a brief description on that. Links to products as well, and fuses, stuff like that. So you can see this gets really detailed, and you can go as deep in here as you want to, or you can just kind of browse it to see what questions you might have. But yeah, so excited about that. We've got more coming, but we don't really talk about the website that much, but it's getting there. And all your questions that we go over when we're working on the van and talking about this stuff, those help put together topics for the channel. So something that'll be coming out soon or in the future, we talk about, there's a question somebody asked about water pumps and if they needed an accumulator or not. And I just replied and just started a whole conversation about, do you need an accumulator or not? And eventually I wrote like a whole 2 paragraphs. And so now we're going to turn that into a blog post. So stuff like that is kind of how the site's going to be put together. And it's really, if it's questions that need answering, then I'll answer it the best I can, or I'll do the research to figure it out, because I'm doing it in the real world. So every day I'm, learning something. Which is an excellent segue to get back to the van floor. So I went to my Webasto kit, and for the heater, and for the kit, I have, let me back up. In my personal van, I installed a Chinese diesel heater, and those are the ones on Amazon. They come right over from China, so they got interesting names, but they're very reliable. I've actually used mine for almost 4 years now. I've had no problems on it, and they're very simple to wire. They have a simple wire. They have a little digital controller, nice and easy. Now this Webasto, this is the Airtop Evo 40, and the wiring is pretty complex. I didn't think it would be complex. It's not crazy, but there's lots of wiring. So what I'm trying to do is figure out how to put it in the van the way I want to. And the way that they've made the wiring harness, they've integrated kind of 2 wires together. So you have your control wire for the thermostat, like the digital control, and then there's a second wire in that does the power. I actually would like it, I kind of would like it as a builder if that would have been separate. But the way that it's wired together, you can't separate it. So this is the wire I'm talking about. So these two wires, they come together. Then they come through this housing, they're sleeved, they got this grommet, and then they're all right here. So I can't split off, but it's not a big deal. But it made me pause while I was doing the floor. And yes, I have a spare tire in here and a propane tank and brake rotors, but it's like the heaviest things I have in the shop to put the floor down. Anyway, so that wiring harness, I wanted to put it in my cable tray in here in the back. It's just where I want access to it, where the front door is. It's just not long enough, but I want all the controls over there. What's cool is, because of the way we did Thomas's van and we made everything wireless, it kind of stuck with me. And I actually went and I bought the Bluetooth controller for the Webasto heater. So let me show you what that looks like. Because 2 things are going to happen in the van. One, you're going to have to decide where you have all your wires going. So the plan that I had is being changed just a little bit. So that's why this flooring install is kind of taking a dive, and today you're not seeing like all the panels be put in. But I want all the controls in just one place, so it's nice and convenient. Plus, it's out of the way, kind of, it's not like right in your face. But going with the theme of Thomas's van, everything was wireless, and I really liked that because it didn't limit me to where I wanted to put a switch for control, knowing that I could have it on an app on the phone, and he could be anywhere in his van and control it. So I looked up, and there is a, let me get the cable too. So Webasto makes a Bluetooth smart temp sensor. And it comes as, I guess you would call it like a conversion kit, because you can't, the wiring, so here's the module. So you may have seen this in some other videos, but it's the Webasto Smart Temp. So this won't directly plug into the Evo AirTop 40 that I have, but when you buy it, of course I could be wrong, I don't think this was an add-on, but there's a conversion cable that will convert it to what you need it to be. So it has this input, and then this back side it has the smaller input for, what am I saying? The smaller input is for the cable harness, and the bigger ones right here, they almost look like PC connectors, like a PC power supply, and then those connect here. So when you buy this kit, it comes with that. So the good news is, the reason I'm doing this is because, think about it, if you're in bed and you're nice and comfortable and it's cold, but you want to change the temp of the heater, you don't want to get out of bed. If you already made it this far into an adventure vehicle, you want a nice convenience factor of not having to get out of bed to change the temperature. So even though this is going to be mounted up top by the Renji 1 panel, as well as our Victron battery monitor, you'll be able to access it from your phone. You won't have to get out of bed. You can change the temperature via Bluetooth. It's just nice and easy. So because the wiring harness, it was not as long as I would have liked it to be, I am changing how I am wiring this. So my plan is, I'm not putting this third section in because I need to modify the middle foam section. I'm doing two modifications. One, get this out of the way. Actually, hold on, let me tell you guys this if you're wondering. So I got this from VMAX Incorporated. They're out of Chesapeake, Virginia. So it says I bought a harness adapter upgrade and a smart temp controller, so that they're separate. Okay, so there are two things. So if you guys want the part numbers, the smart temp controller for the Webasto AirTop Evo 40, the item number is 5013874A, as in Apple. The harness, the upgrade harness that you need to buy, which is that this wire, that part number 5013930A is an Apple. So those are two separate things. All right, so let me show you what is getting changed to the plan of the van. So this middle panel, there, where the shower is, I'm going to cut a notch into the foam, and the wire will go through the foam on the back side of the shower pan and then come through the other side. I'm not going to cut all the way through the foam. I'm just going to cut enough channel to have that thin wire, and it's heavily wrapped, so it's got a good housing on it. So that's where that's going to go, and then go up the wall. Then I'm going to install 2 of these aluminum 1-inch bars, and they're going to be glued with the marine adhesive to the van chassis. And those 2 are going to support the Flightline Vanco pull-out tray. And so once that those 2 go in, there'll be a third here on the back. And I was going to, there'll be 2 that span the whole width, but there'll just be 1 in the back, and then 1 here in the front for the tray. The one that spans the width, that one is going to be what makes sure that our seam here is nice and flush. So we talked about that, I think 2 live streams ago. So the heater modification, addition of the aluminum for support, and then we'll get back to getting on plan. The next step, once we put the foam down here, is we'll do a final check on wiring. We have 1 more network cable that has to be wired from the battery system to the Renogy One panel. You can do it via Bluetooth, but I'm trying to see if I can direct wire it. I've never used the Renogy One system before, so I'm not sure if you have to pair it every time. I don't want anybody to have to do that. If there's a way to directly connect it, so it's always connected to the battery system and the hub, I'm gonna try that. So that's what that cable's for, because it goes under here. We've already wired the Victron shunt communication wire. We've wired our 2 6-gauge wires for the DC to DC charger, so they came to the back. And then we wired our 60 amp service to our secondary fuse panel. I said it was 100 amps. That's not accurate. It's 60 amps because it's 6-gauge. Okay, so the next thing that we're doing is, let's talk about some products here. And let me just double check, make sure the video's doing good. Okay. So next thing, let's talk about some products we've been using. First up, we'll talk about the adhesive using Loctite Marine. So it's the Loctite PL Marine Fast Cure. It's been doing fantastic. Does a great job adhering the lattice that we have to the van, to the kill mat, to the foam. And then we're going to also use it on wood. So this works best for teak, wood, teak and other woods, fiberglass, vinyl, glass, FRP, metal, gel coat, polycarbonate, and most plastics. So it's good stuff. And it doesn't smell that bad either. So we've calculated to get the back panel and then the other 2. I just need, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. I got 8, 4 here, 4 I just bought. So we got enough products for the van. Next, what we're going to do is we need to make sure that we have the right gauge wire for the refrigerator. So when we were doing Thomas's van, the Vitrifrigo fridge, it stated that it needed a, I'm not going to quote it because I don't have it on the top of my head right now, but it had a certain amperage that it stated that it needed for the fusible circuit. And so we did the fusible circuit, which was like 15 amps. And so I appropriately wired, used the correct wire for that 15 amp circuit. However, I went deep into the manual because we were having some weird faults, and it just didn't make sense because sometimes it would be fine and then sometimes it wouldn't, and it was just random. And I felt more like it was like a voltage thing. Like when his system would get to a low voltage, it would have like this nuisance fault. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be some more information. So I went through the manual, and then I had to translate the manual because this information was not in English. It was in what is that, Italian? And I found the length. There was a certain length and current. So long story short, when the fridge first turns on, there's a spike, and to get it to come on. So, fridges have that. Sometimes air conditioner units have that. This one has it to where just every now and then, if it didn't have, so I'm just going to make this up. So say it required 15 amps, but it actually needed 20 amps. So what was happening is the run of wire in the van was so long that it was at its limit for the voltage to supply for that current capacity. So what I did was I just took the wire out. We oversized the wire. We went from a 12 gauge to a 10 gauge wire. So we overdid it because we had to compensate for the length, because the length was enough to have enough voltage drop to create a nuisance error. I mean, just enough. I mean, literally the cable was like 3 feet too long. So all I'm saying is I now oversize pretty much all my wires. So anything that I think is going to need something, I just go up another wire size, because the nuisance stuff is hard because it doesn't happen all the time, and it's hard to troubleshoot things. So you might be fine for 2 or 3, 6 months, and then one day it just has a little error, but then it goes away. So if you can afford it, because I know this is kind of a DIY channel, first of all, make sure that if you have a circuit and it requires so much amperage, let's go to the computer really quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we go to Blue Sea Systems, wire size. And then you'll see this colorful chart. We want to pull this colorful chart up. Blue Sea Systems, these are products I use. So there's a lot of confusing stuff on here, so I'll try to make this as easy as possible. If you look on the left here, we have non-critical and critical. So non-critical means you can have around a 10% voltage drop and it's not going to mess anything up. But if you have like an electronic device, computer, circuit boards, stuff like that, those items are a little bit more sensitive to voltage drops, and hence, in the story I just told you, this is where technically that isotherm is so, it's a very high-end fridge. It's very, very high-end. So that system is, it seems to me that it's very sensitive, so you need to have the, not the proper wiring, but, a little bit more room for error. But if you look on the left-hand side right here, and let's see if I can zoom in. Excellent. So we have 30 feet, 50, 65, 80, 100, 130, 165, 200. So as you notice, as the number increases, our wire gauge increases. And I know this looks backwards, but if you're unfamiliar with electrical wire sizing or wire gauge sizing, it goes from a higher number to a lower number when it is increasing. So it is kind of confusing. So 10 gauge is a bigger wire than a 16 gauge. So if you were going 30 feet on a 5 amp circuit, or sorry, if you have a 5 amp circuit, so the circuit requires 5 amps, and the light bulb or whatever you're that's pulling 5 amps is 30 feet away, you can get away with a 16 gauge all the way up to 50 feet of a 16 gauge. So that's what this is saying. So you have this range. But if you're a 5 amp light bulb, let's just keep calling it light bulb, if it is 65 feet away, you need to increase the gauge from a 16 to a 14. If it gets longer, if it's 80 feet away, then it's 12. If it's 100 feet, if it's 130 feet away, it's 10. So you can kind of see what's going on here. So let's go back and look at. So we are keeping this on the topic of the van floor, because when we're in a van, that wire that's going to cross there for the Webasto, that's a short run, okay? And Webasto probably made the wire harness that size because that's as long as they want that cable to be, so it doesn't change how their circuit functions. Same thing for you. If I want to operate a fridge over there, but I want to fuse it on the right side of the van and run the power here around and back to the fridge, I need to measure how long that cable is. So while you're putting the floor in, you're probably going to do your wiring as well, just like I am. Or maybe you need to change it up. And so for example, let's just say I had this 14 gauge wire right here, and I want to use it to run my fridge. So if I go back to the chart, I have a 14 gauge wire. So let's go find 14. So it's the orange one. And my fridge needs 20 amps. So you guys see how this is showing how my issue with the other fridge was? So I need 20 amps. Well, how far can I go? Well, let's look. I can go 0 to 20 feet. But in my van, let's just say that this wire running my fridge, it's 30 feet away because I came down 5, over 5, over 5, over 5, up 5, and down 5, let's just say. So it's 30 feet. Well, now, if I have a 14 gauge wire that I'm running my fridge with and it's 30 feet away, that's not good. So my voltage drop is, especially if it's critical, it's not going to work. Because if it's critical, I can only go 6 feet with that cable. So now I need to bump up to a different gauge wire. So for example, I went from the 12, or I had a 12 gauge, and I went to 10 to fix my problem. So what happened was, it was a critical component. I was over 10 feet. So I think it was like 12. So now I went to 10, and it's 15 feet, and I was okay. So that's how this chart works. Hopefully that's not confusing for you guys. Anyway, all right. So let's get back to, let's finish this up. So when we're running wire in our van, we want to make sure that if we have a circuit that is demanding a certain amount of current, amperage, to run, we need to make sure that we have the correct wire size to do it. But even if we have the correct wire size by the chart, the distance is going to change how this operates. The longer this is, the less voltage, or the lower the voltage is going to be at the end point. And it may just be like just a fraction. You might go from 13 volts with like a lithium system to maybe 12.7 or 12.6 or something like that. And depending on the device, it might see as it runs, it might go all the way down to maybe 12 volts or like 11.7 or something like that, even though your batteries are 13. But because of the distance, you're losing that voltage and you might have an error come up. And that's because you didn't compensate for the length of the wire. You got everything else right. You got the fuse and the wire if it had been short, but because it was long and you ran this wire 30 feet, it changed the characteristics of it. So when you're in this flooring stage, you're probably with the wire, so I thought that might help. Let's see what else we did. Picked up some more components for our fuse panel so that we can bring those wires over there. And then over here, we picked up some more wire. So this 14 gauge is what I'm going to use for the high power USB outlets. Those are for the ones that can do the iPad or like a MacBook Pro type of thing. And then over here we have, this is what I picked up today to solve my problem with the fridge. So this is Anchor marine grade wire. This is what I recommend because it's UL certified. And it's also double jacketed. So you have a white jacket and then inside you got a red and black power cable that's stranded and it's jacketed as well. So it's really abrasive resistant. So this 12 gauge is what's going to be used to run the fridge. And this is the one where I'm going to go from this side over to that side. And I know it sounds silly because it's right by the power system, but I don't want to continue to add fuse. I want all the fuses in one place so it's really easy to do maintenance on this van. And then last but not least, we have our 12-3 wire, this right here. The 12-3 wire, this is going to be used for our inverter. So this is what we're going to use to wire our outlets, run our water heater, and those items. So we got that. So we've got everything we need to. So while we have the opportunity to cut the foam or move it while we're installing it, we have all the components to continue the build process. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. We have the flooring system tomorrow. So tonight we're going to put one more piece in, and then tomorrow we're going to take the wood panels out and we're going to coat them with the adhesion promoter so that we can prep it for doing the epoxy flooring. We've got to get that done in the next few days. And that's pretty much it. So this floor setup, we'll keep moving on to the next part. See, the note that I was going to make on my phone is that we need Ethernet cables for the Renogy smart batteries. I need like 1 foot length. Anyway. All right, so that's about it for this live stream. We just kind of give you a quick update on what's happening. We're not really doing technically a build, but I wanted to update you on why everything's paused. It looks crazy. We'll get back to it tomorrow and Sunday. Get you guys an update. But yeah, make sure you subscribe so you guys can see the next videos coming out. Make sure you like this video. And if you have any questions, put those in the comments below. Happy to use those for future videos or just answer them in the next live stream. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next live stream.